liked whatever was my passion at that point. I combined that and I just found a suitable major. So I guess for me, that was a no-brainer. Sabina?
Yes, that's great.
Yeah, and for me, it was the same. I was in microbiology, but in Kazakhstan, I was studying veterinary science. So I was doing veterinary microbiology. And then for my master's, I started to specialize in food microbiology. And then I continued with food.
That's interesting. And let me move on to the second question. Were you scared to move and study abroad?
I guess yes and no, because for me, like Korea and Korean culture, it wasn't something very foreign, because as I said before, I was a huge fan of K-pop and Korean culture and everything. So I guess when I came here for the first time during my master's exchange program, it felt like I've been studying here for the whole life, you know. I just felt very comfortable here. So when I came back again for the PhD, I guess the hardest thing was the actual commitment for your thesis, for the work, because you know how they say in Russian, не надо путать туризм и иммиграцию. So when I came for the exchange program, that was a very short period, and honestly, I was just having fun. But I guess when it comes to the actual studying and like studying in Korean in a very different environment, something I'm not quite familiar with, that was a little bit challenging. But I guess I was more excited than everything else because I already knew the language, I knew the culture. So in comparison to other people who came to study here, for me it was a very comfortable move.
As for me, I had my experience of living abroad also before. I had 1 year exchange during my bachelor studies in the Netherlands. So that was the period when I had my tourism, my fun time. And after that, I've done my master's in France. And when I came here in Quebec, I was already quite settled down. So I didn't have some expectations. I didn't have anything. I didn't want to travel everywhere, go to different countries. I just came here. I was doing my work, coming back, doing the dishes. So I wasn't scared, I can say. It's just, it's similar everywhere. Like people, like my relatives, my friends, they ask me, oh, how is it the life there? I say, it's everywhere. I just eat, I sleep, I work, that's it. It's all similar.
That's right. A lot of people ask me the same question, like, because they watch the Korean dramas, so they have this some kind of like Korean drama-esque notion of what the Korean life is, and I'm like, it's not. Everything is the same. People are the same everywhere. It's not their Korean drama.
I think we had a question in our previous meeting. I don't know if this girl is still there. She wrote in the chat, why did you choose doing PhD over a conventional career in the industry? And there was something like the continuation, but it was something like that about like, why not getting a real job, something like that. I mean, so do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I guess, sure, why not?
Yeah.
For me, I think because I did work in the field, in the conventional, whatever industry, if you can call it like that. So during my master's, I was already working as an instructor in the university where I was doing my master's. So I already know what it's like to teach, and this was something I really enjoyed. I'm very, very passionate about. That's why I continued to do PhD so that I can get an actual degree, and I would be a specialist in something that I'm passionate about. But unlike other people some people consider PhD studies as just studies, and let me tell you, it's not. It's an actual work. It is a industry already, I guess, if you can say so. So yes, that's my answer.
Yeah, as for me too. I had 1 year of work I worked for Danone so the practical work. And generally, you can continue. Actually, you can continue. You can start working in the industry and then try to get higher positions, or you can do PhD and then come to higher position directly. But I don't know how it will function in Kazakhstan actually. But for example, in the Netherlands and here in Canada, if you have your higher degree, if you have PhD, they will pay you more for the same job. So if I go to the industry, I will do the same job as someone with masters, I will get paid more. So and secondly, I think mostly PhD, like you don't need to do PhD. Not everybody needs to do PhD. I started doing my PhD because I thought that I wanted to be a professor. I think PhD is more for people who want to teach. But if you
Yeah,
don't
I
want to
agree.
teach, yeah, you want to work with your with something more practical, you don't need to do PhD. And indeed, PhD is the job. So I also get these questions like why Sabina is still studying and stuff. So we are paid, we are good paid, we are okay with our PhD. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
not like,
It was a conscious choice to
yeah.
continue the studies.
I see. And also one of the participants have raised hand, and I think,
Oh yeah, sure.
can you talk, Asel? No? Okay, she's not answering. Let us proceed then. Our next question is, how did you choose your current program of study and university?
So when it comes to me, there is a very good scholarship program in Korea called Korean Government Scholarship Program, or JKS. And maybe for those who are interested in studying Korean, that's like the best scholarship you can get in this country, because it covers everything from your tuition to your monthly allowance and the everything basically. So for me, that was an obvious choice, and I just applied for that particular scholarship program. And from there, you can decide whether you go from the embassy or directly to university. The only difference is that through embassy, you can choose 3 universities you can apply to. And through the university track, just only directly to one university. In my case, since I studied literature before, I wasn't quite sure there were 3 very good universities that I really wanted to apply to. And for those who are familiar with Korean education system, there are like also their top rankings and stuff. So there's like Sky University, Seoul National University, Korea University, and Yonsei University. So of course I think of myself very highly. So I applied for 2 of those 3 top universities. And the third one was actually the one that I'm studying right now. And that was the one where I did my exchange program. And that's the biggest foreign language university in the Asia Pacific region. They even teach Kazakh language here. So for me, that was very exciting. I'm like, I want to study in this particular, like our Inyas basically. So when I applied, I chose different majors, right? So I chose comparative literature, I chose Korean language and literature, and Korean culture, something international, something that I don't remember at this point. Basically, I applied and got rejected from all 3 universities for no particular reason. So me being very annoyed, I replied back to the universities like, hey, what happened? Why? Because in order to be proceeded to so that your documents get to university, you're nominated by the embassy, which means I had no problem with my documents. Everything was great. I had a very good GPA and like the recommendations and stuff. It's just something along the way just didn't work. So I just like, hi, hello, I'm Symbat. Like, what happened? And 2 of the universities, the very top ones, of course, they ignored me. But the third one, my university, they actually replied and they were very nice. They're like, oh yeah, blah, blah. I guess there was some kind of like misunderstanding because in the guidelines, we said that there is this major, but in the actuality, we don't have professor for that. But you can choose another major. And they gave me a list of all the majors they had in the university, and they're like, you have until tomorrow to choose because there is a deadline for everything that's happening. So yeah, I had 24 hours to look through all the majors again, to look through all the professors, what they're doing, what is going on. And in the end, I think it was a godsend. They call it like a divine intervention because that was like what I chose in the university and my department is honestly the best outcome that I could never predict. Because my university and the field that I'm studying is actually pioneers, and that's because cultural context is divided into three. It's like analysis, more planning of the events and like the content, and content creation. So I'm not a content creator. Like I don't, I mean, I sing, but like not on professional level. I dance, but like cover dances. I don't plan events. I'm very anxious for those types of things. So I go through the analysis because I have background in philosophy and literature and like social sciences. I like to do research. So that was no brainer for me. And I chose the analysis, and my department happened to be the university, the department for that analysis part, which I didn't know when I applied. I found it out later on after my first semester. I'm like, so this is that's what I was doing. So I guess yeah, it's kind of like a roller coaster. Some might say it's a Korean drama as well, but I'm very very happy that it's not this way.
Thank you for sharing. I guess your story is really motivating, and it's like I didn't know that we can even ask from the admission department why you were not accepted. And yes,
Yeah, neither did I. That was a spur in the moment type of thing. But yeah, I guess I all now I every time I advise people to ask back, like why, because chances are there is a reason specific, and if it's not a confidential information, they will share this reason with you because it's not because you suck or you're not good enough. Maybe there are some other internal reasons you just don't know.
I
yeah,
agree with that. I think many people, they don't know that they have to. It's not like they can, but they have to ask questions to admissions. It's not only related to like why I wasn't accepted, but also in the beginning, on the stage of preparation, when you're choosing the universities, people are like, oh, how is this? I'm not getting the website. How is this program? You can ask everything to the admission because it's their job and they will answer all the time. You can even ask like, do you have this type of mattresses at your dormitory rooms or this type of mattresses? And like our people, they're shy, right? To ask stupid questions, to address to some authorities.
Yeah,
But you should understand that it's different context outside of the, so say, let me say the Soviet zone. And there, they are not considered as authorities. They are there to serve you. So you can ask anything to the admissions and you have to ask anything to, yeah, thank you, Alisher. So you really, when you're applying somewhere, ask, do you have exchange programs? Do you have any scholarships for me? You know, like it's okay.
yeah,
And they will
yeah,
answer all the time. Thank you for your interest in our university and blah, blah. You find this link there. You find this link there. Always, all the time they will do that. And if I come to how I was how I came up with this program, it was the same story actually. I was applying for PhDs, and if you're searching for PhD in, I always talk about Western Europe and Northern America now because this is the region I specialize in. So there you can go to the university website and you go to the page like jobs or vacancies, and there you find open PhD projects. So each professor, they have PhD project which was already sponsored either by governmental funds or by the industry, and they search for people to work in it. That's why we say that PhD is a job. And I was searching like that. I haven't thought about Canada, so my focus was on the Netherlands, the countries I know more or less, Belgium, France. And then I came up with one paper saying that in this university, in this particular university, I didn't place it geographically. I just thought about the university and research that they were doing, the kind of research I'm interested in. Because again, to sum up, microbiology, something with food, then I work with Danone. I combine all these three, and I say I was also, for my master's, I was interested in antimicrobial resistance. So it means I need to work with probiotics, because probiotics, it's something that we can use instead of antibiotics. It's microbiology. It's related to yogurt. So see, you have to find all these connections. And I said, okay, I need to find something related to probiotics. And I saw this university who writes a lot of papers about probiotics. And I tried to find their page with open PhD positions, but I couldn't find it because it was all in French. and it wasn't the same structure as we used. Like even like you understand something. I mean, I think Korean universities and Asian universities have completely different structure. The site, the website.
Yes.
When you go there, you don't understand. Yeah, where to go.
First of all, they use Internet Explorer, okay? Like, so it's a completely different thing. Yes.
Okay, I see. And the same goes for the European. You know, the like interface is different. And this North American interface, it was different. I couldn't get what was where. And I just sent email to admissions. I was like, hi, normally when I apply in Europe, we have this these separate stuffs on the website, blah, blah, but on your website, I cannot find it. How can I find this page on your website? So they answered me. They sent me all the links. They sent me all the links with the professor who worked there, with the open PhD projects, the one that I was searching for. So see, I didn't have to like search for it for 1 week. I just sent the email. They sent me, I found this particular project in the list. I found 2 particular projects which were in compliance with my field. And one of 2 professors has responded me. And I started to work with him.
That's really
so
informative,
yeah.
Because I think most of our participants do not know how to search for PhD programs and professors. And also, as cliche as it may sound, there is no stupid questions. I guess now our participants know that. And
it's okay to sound like to look dumb or like to sound dumb, I guess, because I mean that's your future you're deciding, and just because you're shy or like what they will think about me, nobody cares. Like that's your job to find that information.
Yes, and moving on to our next question is, what qualities, skills, or achievements helped you to get enrolled in PhD program?
For me, I think it was not my GPA, that's for sure, because during my undergrad, I mean, I guess the Nazarbayev university students know it is kind of hard to get in very good grades in our university, especially like in the very beginning. I was very lost. In my foundation, I studied biology because I sucked at biology. I transferred to, and I was undeclared major until my 3rd year, and then all of a sudden I became a double major. So you can imagine my GPA was not the highest, and honestly, I was like, if you told me back in the days that I would do PhD, I would laugh at your face because I was never good with research papers or anything like that. But I guess in my particular case with Korea and the research topic that I'm doing, my extracurricular activities really helped me a lot, because when you are a president of Korean club and a very active member of Korean Cover Dance Club, and you do participate in a lot of events that are like that the Korean embassy or like Korean culture center they're doing, it kind of stands out in your in your application. So even though my GPA was not super high during my undergrad, during my master's it was fine though. Like I guess I kind of like I'm very good at telling stories. I think my storytelling is like quite good, so I tried to link all of my past experience into one solid like motivation letter, and why all the amazing and great people who are applying, they should choose me from Kazakhstan to study in their university. So I guess the storytelling skills, and also in my particular case is the resilience maybe, because I was almost kicked out of the university twice while I was studying in the undergrad. I almost got kicked out because of the poor GPA, and second time because of plagiarism that I didn't know I did. So I, like, nobody else knows what it's like to fail, and fail like drastically. But nevertheless, I tried to pull myself back, went back again and tried again. And I think that like kind of that resilience and adaptability, when they said, Symbat, you're not doing like you're not passing the chemistry exam, I think you're not going to it, School of Science Technology. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna switch major. When they said, I think political science is not for you, you're not graduating on time with political science major, I'm like, okay, whatever is left, I'm doing that. So I guess that resistance and like adaptability to doing things and just trying and like trying my finding my own path, even me asking questions and like why you didn't reply to me, why I didn't get this position. Maybe this types of things. But in terms of my application and overall, I guess my social activities and the storytelling part, I think those two were the big things.
That's really impressive, I think. Yes, I just have no words to tell. What about Sabina?
So Symbat just stole my answer because resilience, what I was keeping in mind. So I guess this is really the skill that you need to have, as we both were thinking about it. Because it's true, in order to get the position, it takes a lot of time. Like I've been applying during 1 year to get this position. So it's like resilience before, you know, to get it. And after that, during the PhD, it's true that like there are a lot of complications, a lot of difficulties, which you will come across. And the second one, I'd say it's communication skills, because we all like, we have our chat in Ph.D. Girls Union, where we sometimes chat about our project, but we also chat about what's going on to keep up with what's going on in the life. And we always have this, not always, but the majority of us, and some of us have like very like huge problems with our directors, with our lab mates, because as we said, it's like a job. And if you heard from your parents the stories about the boss who is not very adequate, and it comes like with the PhD as well. So you need to be able to communicate and to be able to not take something seriously. I don't know, I think for PhD this is the skill, because don't take yourself too much serious, because PhD is too much of responsibility. You have a lot of things to do which you don't know how to do, and nobody tells you how to do. This is the PhD, just the normal picture of PhD. They tell you, you need to do this. They don't tell you how. If you ask how, they say, you are the PhD. You need to figure out, this is your job, to build some connections in your brain to be able to develop the way how. And also the connotation of PhD, the how, like it's bringing some novelties into science. So it should be novelty. It should be something that was never done before in the world. So it's like a real innovation. So it means that nobody knows how to do it, and nobody knows how to do it right. And here you need to be your greatest supporter, because you need to tell yourself, oh, you're doing good, you're doing right, because no one ever will tell you that you're doing right or that you're doing good. So
you're absolutely correct.
Yeah. Being a self-supporter, that's the skill that you need to survive, to just survive.
Thank you very much. I think you just shared direct insights of how PhD looks like. I didn't know about that personally. Moving
I think there is a question from Alisher. He asked, what are the advantages of PhD in perspective of getting a job? I think in my personal case, it kind of gives me credibility that I know stuff, because in my personal case, because I am dealing with culture and cultural content, something that's happening on the internet, or like very much, you cannot count it, it's untangible, like everything when it comes to humanities and social sciences. And I guess when I have that paper that says she is a PhD, so that kind of gives credibility to my words. So the one example I can give you is that, for example, with QPOP and 91, I follow them very, very religiously, I guess, because they are the main part, like the main focus of my research. So recently, BBC Russia, they did this, what do you call this? Like they shared the content IGTV about 91 and about the things they do and stuff like that. And when I saw that interview, not to disrespect, they did a very good job, but there are some things that they just don't know, and they just figuring it out too. So they just wrote something. And for me, as someone who studies that particular field, that was something I felt like I have a responsibility to say. So I wrote an open letter in the comments like, hi, BBC Russia, here are some things you just didn't get right, and here is why. So I guess in those types of things, PhD is very good because I can always back up saying, hey, I know that, I studied that, I have a degree to confirm that. But in other things, as me and Sabina said before, since both of us we are trying to pursue like our careers in academia later, that's just something you gotta have. Like it's a one just first step that you have. You have a PhD. Later on, you have your postdoctoral research and all the papers and stuff like that. But PhD is the thing that you should do. So I guess I hope that answers your question.
Thank you very
I'd
much.
like to add a little update. It's just, yeah, if you, oh yeah, sorry.
No.
If you want to work in academia, it's like a must. Yeah, it's a must. But the little update is that I actually changed my mind, not during this meeting. I mean, I changed my mind like about last year, a couple of years ago. Actually, when I started my PhD, about my academia, I'm not like quite sure anymore. That so like if your mind is changing now on the bachelor level, don't worry. Like it happens even with PhD. Yeah. So I started my PhD and I decided that I don't want to be a university professor. I don't want to continue in academia anymore. So as soon as I defend my thesis, I will go on the field. I will go on the field, run free. Yeah. So I'm thinking about career in the government. So if we talk about the career in the government, like we have in our team, we have one PhD student, let's say. He's like adult. We're all adults, but I know he's like
older.
Not elder. Yeah, older. I don't know how to call them because like now us, we're already 30 and probably for these kids, we're all these so he's about 46 or 50 and he's working for the government. He has like a very good paid position, but he cannot go further. Like here for the governmental jobs, we have the second level, the third level, fifth, and blah, blah, blah. And he's, I think, on the fifth level, but he cannot go further without the PhD. But me, if I come with the PhD, I will not start with the second. He worked for 10 years. He started from second and like grew for 10 years till fifth. But if I come, I will start from 3 or 4 already because I already have PhD. And then I can continue like more than 5. So that's why he's doing his PhD. And for the industry as well, I said, if I don't get the job in the government and go to the industry, as I said, the advantage is that it's advantage and disadvantage because when you are like disadvantage of being overly qualified, sometimes you're overly qualified for some jobs. Like they will not take you as technician. They will not take you as somebody doing the routine lab job. They have to take you to some managerial, I can say, but you need to have managerial skills for that. But the position should be higher, like head of research. Yeah, I'm taking myself too much, but yeah, you should be like in the research or something, like a little bit higher positions, and you need to be paid higher. Even if somebody came there with their masters, as I said, you will be paid higher in terms of the job search.
I just wanted to add one thing while Sabina was saying. I remembered that in Korea, I guess it's a cultural thing too, like hey, cultural content. But the cultural thing is that because of the very, very high like competition in this country, because they have no resources, the only resource they have is human resource. So the competition is very, very high, and it's in their cultural code, the education, the passion for education. So it's like a normal thing for people to study a lot. And when I say by a lot, I mean a lot. Like us, for example, finishing at like 23, 24, that's a nonsense for people. Me at 26 doing my PhD, it's a nonsense for Korean people because they study so much, they take so much time. And I guess that it's a kind of prestige at this point too, because that you having the PhD gives you higher chances to get any type of job, any type of position. And like as Sabina said, they cannot just take you as a manager. They have to give you a very good salary. And I guess in this type of environment and economical situations, that's what the Korean system, like education system, is all about. So yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing. And our next question is about, I think you partially have answered that, but anyways, have you ever doubted applying to graduate school? If yes, when and how did you make the final decision? If no, when did you become sure about applying?
Mm, I guess I tried firstly to apply to Korea right after my undergrad. So like maybe some of the students here right now on my fourth year, I'm like, okay, I'm not going anywhere with this degree. Like I think when it comes to like humanities, sometimes there is a notion that you gotta have at least master's degree to make yourself useful, and that's what I thought too. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna apply because I had no idea what I'm doing and what I'm gonna study. So I'm like, I think I'm gonna do master's. And after I got rejected by a lot of universities, including the Korean government scholarship program, I kind of had no choice but to turn into our Kazakhstani universities other than Nazarbayev University. And that's when I learned to be humble. Because I always thought of myself of someone like, oh, I'm from Nazarbayev University. I cannot study in this. No, like this really taught me to how to be humble. And I guess that's when I saw the actual system, the education system in Kazakhstan in different universities other than our university. That's when it kind of gave me that push to strive for graduate school for the PhD because I'm like, I see a lot of very talented students and like in the other universities which they just don't have the same type of guidance. And I kind of maybe wanted to be that force of guidance and motivation for the students. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I kind of found that passion. I kind of found my path with the students and like talking to them and stuff like that. And I guess that kind of gave me that final push. Because when I saw the realities, I'm like, okay, I'm not doing this because of money. That's for sure. Like when it's because the amount of that they pay teachers in our schools is very, very sad. So I'm like, okay, I'm not doing this for money, but I guess I'm good doing this for the greater good. So yeah, that was the final push.
Okay, is it my time to answer now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, could you repeat the question because I've been answering this question and answer.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
sure.
was really tapping my yeah.
Have you ever doubted applying to graduate school? If yes, when and how did you decide the final decision? How did you make final decision? If no, when did you become sure about applying?
I have never adopted it. I started to adopt it already, as I said, like after I started doing the PhD. So
Yes.
that's my short answer. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And I think there was a question to Sabina. Could you please tell about
Okay.
the reason that changed your mind from working in academia?
Yeah, I actually started to type. It took me so long. Sorry, I'm here. I thought I need to write the answer, so I was typing all this time. The reason is that okay, it's awkward to share like this because I wanted to type it, but actually the reason is that I've been achiever like most part of my life. It was always like studying hard. You need to always challenge yourself to do something, and it still continues. Like it will continue in academia. You know, PhD is just here. You think PhD is like the last stage, but after PhD, it's the same. It never stops. PhD is just like you're back to your bachelor. And then you go to postdoc, and then you do blah, blah, blah. And then you try to be like assistant professor, which is also like the base level. So there are a lot of stages. And I was like sharing my personal information in my answer that like I'm in my late 20s and I feel it's time to slow down for me for now, like build a family, plant a tree. I want to adopt a dog, a cat, and it's not like a slowing down forever to stop, you know, because I know like women like us or people like us, they will like never stop, you know, chasing something. But at least at this time, I want to slow down, and I know like I can, if I want to teach in the future, I can personal life, yeah, I can go back. I can go back to academia as a practitioner if I will, like I already will have my PhD, and then I will have like a big working experience, maybe in different organizations, and then I can go back to academia as a practitioner. But also like analyzing myself, I got that my dream career is more. It's not the PhD because it's not a professorship. It's more like I'd like to work for international organizations like WHO, FAO, yeah, Food Agriculture Organization. So I'd like to teach but I don't want to teach all the time because teaching as a professor becomes a routine after some time. And it's a lot of paperwork, a lot of stuff like applying for grants, etc. So that's it. It's just me, I guess.
Good luck with your aspirations, I think. Yes. And the next question is that, do you have a master's degree? If not, how to apply to PhD after undergraduate school? If yes, have your interests, preferences in studies changed?
Well, yeah, I do have master's degree in foreign philology from Kazakhs University of Foreign Languages International Relations. So foreign philology, and when it comes to philology in general, it kind of divides into two parts. One goes for linguistics and one goes for literature. In my case, I was really bad at linguistics in general. It's a more scientific, like more, I don't know, I don't even know how to describe, but like it's harder. It just was harder for me in general. So I went for the literature part. And during my undergrad in NU, my thesis was on ancient Japanese literature. Yeah, shocking, because like I was talking about Korea for this time, but like we didn't have Korean department or Korean professors. So the best thing I could do is study Japanese literature, and that's what I did. And so I did ancient Japanese literature, and for my master's degree, I did contemporary Japanese literature. So it was kind of like a continuation in a way. And yeah, I was planning to do comparative literature with Korean and Japanese one because I have a background in Japanese literature. I know some of the Korean literature, and with the historical things that Korea was under the Japan imperialist rule, blah blah. I thought it would be interesting to do that, but I found a better way to do it. And even now, for example, like with the Korean wave and stuff like that, it's actually very much like my whole knowledge of everything I studied before with Japan and everything. It actually helps a lot because not many people know that Korean wave doesn't just start because, or K-pop just didn't appear all of a sudden. There's a history to that, which actually starts from Japan. So it's an interesting way, like somehow in the end of the day, it kind of all makes sense now. But when I was doing that, I'm like, I have no idea. Like for the first year during my PhD, and once I joined KzPhdGirlsUnion, I had no idea what I'm doing. I'm just doing something, but I couldn't pinpoint. If you ask me, what do you study? I'm like, I don't know. I'm doing something. I go to cafes, okay? But now I think I can, I can pinpoint and I can show you the direction I'm going for. So yeah, I guess that answers my question.
Thank you very much for your answer. It was very informative. What about you, Sabina?
So let me repeat the question. It was
yeah, sure.
it was do you need masters, right, to do your PhD?
Yes, and if not, how to apply to PhD after undergraduate school?
I don't think it's possible for my program, or I'm not sure if it's actually possible in Canada, because you need to have like in your application you need to attach your master's diploma. Mm-hmm. But you know, after undergraduate, you can go for masters with the research. We have this direction, so it will be masters, but with the research. So it takes 2 years. You have some courses as well, but the most part you do research and you are paid as well. Like if we're paid on PhD level for doing our research, for master with research, you're paid as well for your lab work. Mm-hmm. So you can go for masters with research.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to quickly mention there was a question for me from Tamiris, I think. She asked what I'm planning to do after I defend my dissertation and what area I would like to work in. So, because cultural content is basically everywhere right now, I can literally choose anything starting from education to politics to economics and whatever. But I like entertainment industry a lot, being a product of YouTube and Netflix and Instagram. Well, not TikTok. I think I'm old for TikTok, but other than that, I pretty much enjoy social media a lot. So I would really love to work in the industry. Unfortunately, we don't have sometimes like we do have Zhulta Entertainment, but that's about it. I think that's like the major music industry ones. So I'm actually planning to open my own thing, like a cultural space. That would be really cool, I think. If anyone wants to sponsor me, you're welcome to do so. But I in Korea, I saw a lot of these cultural spaces where independent artists can come and show their work and showcase a lot of things like that. And also, I took some classes in museum and exhibition planning, and working as a curator was something I was also very passionate about because it kind of like it has all the things I like to do. Look at the art, talk about it, talk about myself, and kind of make sense and like tell stories. And you get to wear cool outfits in the museums too. So I was thinking about those types of things. But for now, since I work in the like Korean wave, K-pop, Q-pop, that type of industry, I guess I would very much like to work in that particular field. Well, if not, we'll see how it goes. Maybe Nazarbayev University would like to invite me as an instructor there. I would be very happy to teach you K-pop.
Uh, Very interesting, and I think we have a very interesting question from Kurmiat. Uh, it is in one of the episodes of Amina Mirsikeyeva's podcast, she told that PhD is depressive. Moreover, she had a depression according to her stories in Instagram. So my question, was there a depression in your pathway? If yes, how you coped?
Okay, I
Sabina?
saw this question. Yeah, I would like to answer it. Um, I'd like to outline that indeed we have like this community was formed. We had a handful of girls, but now we're like a bigger community. So each girl has her story. We're about 30. So I think we all had our low times, but depression is a word. It's like it's a term. It needs to be diagnosed. So I know that Amina, she went to doctor. It was diagnosed like clinically, but I don't think we can say like if we didn't go to doctor and we were not diagnosed with depression, it was depression. Um, Nevertheless, there is like seasonal depression, right? Which we can monitor in ourselves. So like I'm just scared to use the word depression. That's what I mean. But I will prefer to use the words low times. We have it often, like when you feel that you're not doing right, you don't know what you're doing. And yes, I think we all had it. When you like wake up, you don't know why, you don't know the reason you wake up. You don't know, like you don't want to continue the day. So
Yeah.
it happens. And
I'll,
yeah,
continue.
for me, there's a quite sensitive topic, right? It's very personal for like each individual, I think. And for me, I just go with the flow. If I feel like that, I don't get up of my bed and I let myself, because if you will try to force yourself, it will just aggravate. So it's better if you just stay and you say yourself like, I'm dead. so optimist, but you just say it like,
Yeah.
I'm just a little particle of dust in this universe.
Yeah.
So I guess that's it.
Yeah. I very much agree with Sabina when it comes to depression. It has to be clinically diagnosed, and there should be a clear clinical medications how to, because it's an illness just like you have a cold or God forbid corona right now, something like that. It has to be clinically treated. But I guess like Sabina said, low times we also have burnouts, and as I think in today's day and age, pandemic, the world pandemic and stuff like it really took a huge deal in our everyone's mental health, which is fine. Like nobody knows how to deal with world pandemic. I was never born. Like I never had world pandemic in my life before that. And in Korea, the situation is so much better than in other countries. So I guess I took the easier way. But nevertheless, the burnout was there, and like I never I don't think I had like depression per se, but like I definitely had burnouts, and I think like a lot of people experience that. And one of the things that helped me to cope with burnout is to have a routine. So I, especially I think the past year really taught like forced us to slow down and really kind of try to enjoy every day, because you can die out of the like unknown virus and stuff. So for me, like my routine is very important for me. I, no matter how much cliche it sounds, and like I do actually meditate, I do yoga, and I try to do journaling, because I don't know, you live in a foreign country, your family is far away. Sometimes you just need to be there for yourself, because you cannot take care of other people if you cannot take care of yourself. And like Sabina said, there are some days when I'm like, I'm done. I'm gonna be a human burrito. I'm not gonna leave my bed, and it's fine. Other days I can just like other weeks I can just work, and it's fine. But I guess being compassionate to yourself and really listening to yourself. If your body needs to just not get out of the bed, do so. If your work helps you to do so. But other than that, I really try to prioritize me time. In Korean, they call it namane shigan. Like it's a me time when, because I'm a very social and extroverted person. Sometimes I just need to sit by myself and not to talk to anyone. And the other thing that Koreans have, they say 소소한 행복, 소소하게 소소한 확실한 행복, small but definite happiness. So for me, my small but definite happiness is cup of coffee in the morning. Sometimes it's a beer before I sleep, something that just instantly gets me in a good mood. Or watching, I don't know, YouTube. That is also small but definite happinesses. Small things like that just keeps me balanced. At least, I mean, I try to.
Thank you very much. Thank you for clarifying this, the notion of depression. I think most of the people cross it with burnouts. It was really important in answering this question. And also, thank you for giving advices. I think it was really useful. And our next, I think we are going to finish the questions that we prepared and then answer the Q&A box. So our next question is, what is your PhD thesis and what is your research about?
Yeah, so
finally
as
we're getting to the point.
yeah. Sabina can do first.
Yeah, I'm joking. I was just because how you can make a PhD student happy? Just talk about his thesis, because he can talk about it to nobody else. Nobody wants to listen. So let me try to explain it. Yeah. So the Quebec region of Quebec is like Wisconsin of Canada. When I say Wisconsin, okay, we say France of Canada. It's the place where they produce a lot of cheese and a lot of milk. And if you compare the charts of consumption, you see that French Canadians, they consume more milk and milk products than English speakers. So basically Quebec produces a lot of cheese. And when you produce cheese, you take 10 tons of milk. From 10 tons of milk, you can produce only 1 ton of cheese. The rest, 9 tons, is whey, or in Russian we call it сывороtka. In French we call it lactoserum. So it's, I will call whey because maybe you're not familiar with the term whey. And this whey, it's, okay, milk, it contains proteins, yeah, and water. Like 90% of milk is just water. So it's water with some proteins inside, which are not dissolved, they are just swimming inside, and with some sugar inside. So, and fat, if you're drinking the fat milk. When you make cheese, you only take proteins and fat and make it like solid, but the liquid with sugar stays. So whey is just liquid with sugar. And what's the problem with the whey? If you produce a lot of cheese, you produce a lot of whey. You cannot just throw away this whey on the street. For example, let's say you prepare it in your village, you made the cheese, you made kurt, but you cannot throw away this liquid, the yellow greenish liquid, if you saw it in the village, because it is pollutant for the environment. If you will just throw it in your garden, you will have some pollution of your soil because of the high organic content. And if it will reach water bodies, it will kill fish. My favorite example. So the industries, they cannot just dispose it. They have to neutralize it. They have to do something with it. They have to treat it in order to dispose it. And because whey, it has sugars, it's not just some garbage, you know, to just try to neutralize. We can try to use it and add some value to it and try to make something good out of it instead of seeing enemy in it. So what we're doing in my work, we are subjecting this whey to electroactivation. Electroactivation, it's like, I can explain that we put whey and then we pass some electric current through this whey. And I just want to add it in Russian. Мы ее бьем током. So, it sounds so bizarre, but when we do it, it changes. Like we have in whey, we have, I always say sugar. The sugar, it's lactose. The lactose, it's milk sugar. It has, it is only in the milk. And lactose, it's not a very popular sugar. We cannot do so much with lactose. First of all, because so many people are lactose intolerant. And secondly, because lactose is not sweet. Like if you take sweetness of sucrose as a standard, it's 1, you know, then lactose is 0.16. So it's like 5 times less than sucrose. So it's not sweet. It doesn't add any value to your product. You cannot just take lactose and add it somewhere. So when we do electroactivation, lactose converts into lactulose, which is a different sugar. It's a different conversation because lactulose is a prebiotic. What is prebiotic? Prebiotic is the substances. Somebody stop me. sorry guys. Prebiotic is the substance, probably you heard about it, which nourishes our bacteria in our bellies, in our guts.
Yeah.
So prebiotic is food to probiotics. If probiotics are good bacteria that we have in yogurts and that we have in our guts, prebiotics, it's food for them. So if you eat prebiotics, your probiotics, they will be happy and they will give you a healthy body. If you add prebiotics to yogurt, the bacteria in yogurt, they will be strong and they will survive to come and enter your body. Mm-hmm. So it becomes probiotic, and my work is to test its probiotic capacity. So I make electroactivated whey, and then I put bacteria in it. I see what bacteria does in it, doing it in plural. And I also, the next part of my job is trying to make a milk product with it, because like, who knows, electroactivated whey, can you add it to yogurt? Nobody knows. So I tried to make yogurt with the addition of electroactivated whey. I tried to make kefir, and probably I'll try to make ryazinka with electroactivated whey. Yeah. And then I will discover a new product which is good for the health, etc. So that's my job, like bacterial part and also technological part.
And it will be also good.
That is so freaking cool. I didn't know.
Yeah. Nice to meet you, Symbat.
Yeah. Because Koreans, they don't really have a lot of like dairy products, so they have a sticks of like prebiotics. They have it like in a stick and just drink it, because they don't have enough, I guess, in their diets. But that's awesome. I will tell them that. That there's a new dairy product coming straight from Canada.
So as I understood, your project will be environmentally friendly, right? Product.
Yeah, so it's both good for environment and for like consumers. And also what I want to say is that, why do you continue? Why do you trigger me? So lactulose is a synthetic prebiotic. To produce lactulose, it means synthetic, that it's human-made. It's not the nature. For example, inulin, it's also prebiotic. It comes from the plants. You can extract it from chicory plants and other plants, from broccoli, banana. They have prebiotics, right? But lactulose, you can only make it. And normally how people make it, it's by chemical isomerization. So they take lactose, they add a lot of chemicals, and then because of these chemicals, lactose converts to lactulose. And after that, they have to purify this lactulose from a lot of chemicals. So it's a very chemical method. And there is another method that exists. It's enzymatic method. You can use bacterial enzymes to convert it, but still it doesn't give you so much lactulose. And also like you cannot have a lot of the enzymes are expensive. You need to like get them from bacteria and stuff. And our method is just electricity. So that's why it's also environmental friendly. We don't use the chemical agents, we just use electricity. And if I was at my thesis defense right now, they would tell me, oh, it's not so green because, you know, you have to be precise in science, etc. They'll say, because you still use electricity and probably it comes from charcoal, blah, blah. But here in Canada, like luckily, the electricity comes from hydro plants, from water sources, because there are a lot of rivers, waterfalls. So it's still clean. I can claim that this is the clean technology, like this is the green technology. So eat it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your clarification. I think you just have defended your thesis.
Yeah, we can give you the PhD right now.
Exactly. And now we are ready to hear Symbat's story, I guess. Yes.
After talking about yogurts and irons, I'm actually very hungry now. But yeah, so basically, as I said before, my thesis is gonna be about finding out how Korean wave in, influence culture contents in Kazakhstan. But before we start with that, we have to go way back with Korean wave and K-pop and Korean culture contents in general, because it's only right now that BTS is so popular everywhere, and it wasn't the case like at all. But I guess I think a lot of people remember Psy's Gangnam Style. So that was like a second way of K-pop. So the first way was like back in the days. That's when I started watching like K-pop, like Korean uh, dramas and K-pop like music videos. That was like way back in early 2000s. And initially that was for the only for the Asian market. So the main uh, importers of Korean cultural wave was China and Japan. So it was only in that part. Later on, it expanded a little bit further to Latin America and Arab countries. And it kind of skipped over Eurasia and just went out to America and Europe. So it is interesting how without Korea's initial plan to even try to like spread it to Central Asia and Russia, it became so popular in our country. So it is kind of interesting because in Kazakhstan we have a lot of ethnic Koreans, right? In Korean they call them Koryoin. So they're not Koreans per se, but they are still like it's a different thing. So one of the claims they say, oh, is because Kazakhs, for example, in our case, Kazakhs are already used to seeing like ethnic Koreans, so that's why we're easily adopting this like new Korean wave. So we know what it's like the Korean salads, for example, like I don't know, kimchi and stuff like that. It's not something foreign. But it could be a case in terms of let's say food or something like that. But when it comes to K-pop and music in particular, it's a completely different case. So especially after Q-pop and 91 happened and a lot of backlash that it faced in its beginning, like around 2015, with all the concerts being canceled and stuff like that, that a lot of like a resistance happened like very sudden, like, oh, this is not Kazakh, this is like something different. They are like they look like homosexuals with like their uh, colored hairs and stuff like that. So I was just curious, like, but still, nevertheless, we still have Q-pop and we still have 91, and maybe in the beginning, 91's early works they resembled K-pop very much, like the style and the music and stuff like that. But right now it's changing and it's become its own thing. So for me, it was just like I'm trying to see like visually, aesthetically, how it changed, like the evolution, I guess, of Q-pop in Kazakhstan from the early, very much resembling K-pop, like to the T with the hairstyles and the dance moves and stuff like that, to finding their own way with this resistance and like Kazakh identity and like Kazakh masculinity, I guess. So now Q-pop is not just a Kazakh phenomenon. It's becoming more and more popular in Central Asia and like outside of Central Asia. So for example, it influences Russian pop artists as well, or like Kyrgyz pop artists, or like Uzbek and stuff like that. So there's a very interesting process that's happening called localization. So we have globalization, right? Like tada, like us studying global. But localization is what that Q-pop is a direct product of localization because we took something that was not ours, K-pop, and we localized it in our own culture and language. So in Kazakh language, they're singing this music, and the music videos kind of resemble like ethnic Turkic symbols and stuff like that. So that is the localization. But because localization, it doesn't just happen directly. It affects the culture of people. It affects the lives of people, and because the culture, it's everywhere. It changes. It's in every person's mind. So not only the culture changes, but the political environment changes as well, or social environment changes as well. So, for example, with the 91 and their works, what happens is that a lot of people claim that the youth started to use Kazakh language more, and like they have this more clear notion of their Kazakh identity. And like when it comes to the question of national identity, that's a very interesting part because we, with our like nomad past and then Soviet system, and then after Soviet system, like Nazarbayev generation and whatever, it's a very complicated identity already. And on top of everything, now we have a K-pop on top of everything else. So it's a very, very mixed thing. And I guess, yeah, I'm trying to see how Korean wave, even though it is called Korean wave, is not a Korean thing anymore. It's a global thing now. Because we cannot say that, oh, K-pop is just a Korean thing. No, K-pop is global now. Like Korean wave is a global thing now. Like BTS, it's a thing. BTS are as popular as Ariana Grande and Beyonce now. I think they were nominated as 2020 most popular artist on Grammy or something like that. So it's a big thing. So it's just interesting how this cultural phenomenon that was very local once in Korea became a global thing, and then it localized in Kazakhstan and Central Asia. So I'm doing this thing. So basically what I'm saying is that I watch music videos for academic purposes because I have to see those little things as like symbols and the semiotics and aesthetics and how that changes. So yeah.
Thank you very much. I think it was really interesting to hear about that. And now I think we're moving on to our last question of today's info session. Did you get a scholarship or funding? If so, what was the process?
Sabina?
Me.
Funding.
If I get a scholarship,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I've always having so much fun in the chat. If you see, I'm answering people. So the funding, as I said, you need to apply directly to the project. So you find if you see this project listed in the list, it means that the professor already has funding for this project, and you apply directly with the professor. And if he hires you to work on this project, he already has money and he pays you. So you just search a project for a project which is already like open project, ongoing project, or which is already funded. But if you don't have a project, you can apply your own project. I want to work in your team, but I have my own funding. But I think this is possible if you say like I have my own funding from my country. So it's possible for the Bolashakers probably. Mm-hmm. So it's the two ways. Either you go to a project already with the funding, or you find your own funding somewhere else, and then you come to a professor and say, I want to work with you and I have money.
Mm-hmm. Well, in my case, as I mentioned before, I have a scholarship from Korean government. So basically Korean way of Bolashak, but you don't have to work in Korea to pay back. It's their initiative because Korea has become a developed country. So that's their kind of, they have to do this to support people from like international students, because that's one of the things I think when you're a developed country you have to do. And yeah, in my case, the government covers everything, and there is a certain amount that the government covers, and if government cannot cover the whole thing, the other part your university covers. So it's very much like directed. So they send money directly to the university, and then university adds like extra if it's needed. But we receive our scholarship from the government. A lot of people, for example, in STEM areas, they receive additional scholarships because they work in the labs as well, and it's a paid job. So on top of the scholarship that you already have, probably probably more humanities. We do have labs, but it's more like on research based. So once I get published, I will be paid. But for now, I don't have obligations to go to the lab every day. But there are a lot of opportunities to like work in the projects and stuff like that. And yeah, I would very much recommend this particular scholarship if you're planning to study in Korea.
Thank you very much for such useful information. And I think if our participants have questions, please type it in the chat box because we're reaching the end of our info session. I want to thank Sabina and Symbat for sharing their experience. Personally, for me, you clarified some stereotypes about PhD and provided me direct insights of how PhD life looks like. It was really interesting to hear about your PhD thesis. Thank you very much for devoting time and being here, answering all questions. It was really informative answer.
I want to, yeah, thank you very much. I want to also thank Sabina because it's 7 a.m. right now in Canada. I wouldn't commit to this at all. So this is how much this shows the level of her professionalism because I would never do this. As much as I love you and this is my alumni, like I would not do this.
Yeah, thank you. It's already 8, so we're good. I'm having my breakfast soon. My breakfast yogurt.
We also want to apologize for such delay that was before. It was really unexpected for us as well. So sorry about that.
It's okay. Things like this happen a lot, but we're very grateful for you inviting us and like knowing, getting to know my fellow Nazarbayev University students. That's always a pleasure for me to see people who, I guess in Korean we have this word like hube, who are like my younger like kardeşler. I don't know, like I don't even know how to explain this, but like my younger brothers and sisters, I guess. But and also like a chance to talk about our KzPhdGirlsUnion Girls Union. We have a lot of amazing women doing research in all the different spheres, and we're trying really hard to put up content in our Instagram page. So please, if you could, please follow us, please support us. We have a lot of very useful information there that I think you'll find very helpful.
Sure, we will do that. And if you don't mind, we want to like to determine our winners of the challenge. So for that, I would like to give co-host to my colleague. He's going to show the results in the screen. So I guess I think, how can I give him the share screen option? Do you know?
I think you can just like you should give like type the share screen and who can share all panelists, and that's how he can share the.
Oh, okay. Yes, I see that because he's the panelist, not.
Yeah.
Oh, I think he's attendee, but not panelist. Okay, Al-Hakim, can you share your screen or no? Wait a second, just. So now, what about now? Okay, I guess it cannot be resolved by me because he should be panelist for sharing the screen, unfortunately. But we will do it in our Instagram in the live. So stay tuned, please. We will do that in a minute, in 5 minutes or so. Thank you very much. Have a nice day or evening.
Yeah, thank you very much too. Thank you for inviting us. And again, a happy International Women's Day to everyone. It was a pleasure to see you, and you, Sabina. I got to know you better. So that's always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.